Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of the series Literary Terms and Figures of Speech, where we are going to look at the terms hyperbole and personification. To begin with hyperbole, hyperbole derived from a Greek word meaning overcasting or overshooting. It is a figure of speech that involves an exaggeration of ideas for the sake of emphasis. Now, as this definition implies that any writer or speaker employs hyperbole to emphasize his fact with the help of exaggeration, and he does it so to make his description more creative, amusing, and humorous. And it is a device which we also employ in our day to day speech. For instance, whenever we meet our friend after many days, like 3 or 4 days, or some after some days, then it is very general when we say, "It has been ages since I last saw you." Now, here, this word ages is exaggerating the fact, and here, this word ages is helping us to emphasize the fact that how long the wait was, emphasize the extent of wait, the intensity of wait. So, in this way, hyperbole works. The second example, that suitcase weighed a ton. Now it's very evident that here the speaker is literally, he is not meaning, he doesn't mean literally that the suitcase is weighing a ton, as he is claiming that the suitcase weighed a ton. But here what meaning or what does he want to say, it is very noticeable and it is very obvious that what he wants to say, that the suitcase feels very heavy. So here is a deployment of hyperbole in this statement. And to show you that how hyperbole, what is the significance of hyperbole, that how hyperbole makes any statement very amusing, interesting, and creative. And most often it is used in creative writings. For example, it would be more interesting to say, "She had a brain the size of planet," then if we say it simply, "She was really smart." So you can see the difference, that how the statement becomes very creative and interesting by the employment of hyperbole. Here is an example of hyperbole in poetry, and to show you this poetic employment or the deployment of hyperbole in any poem, I have taken this excerpt from the poem "As I Walked Out One Evening" by American poet W.H. Auden. And before I read this excerpt, I would like to add that in love poems, especially in love poems, the love poets uses this hyperbole in order to show the intensity of their passion and their admiration of their beloved. So let's read this excerpt, what the poet is saying to his beloved. He is saying, "I will love you, dear, I will love you, till China and Africa meet, and the river jumps over the mountain, and the salmon sing in the street. I will love you till the ocean is folded and hung up to dry." Now, the very employment or very use of hyperbole is evident here. These all things are very impossible which the speaker is claiming. Excuse me. So the speaker is claiming here the very impossible things, like the meeting of China and Africa, the jumping of river over the mountain, the singing of salmon in the street, and ocean being folded and hung up to dry. It's very final and clear that these things are not possible. So here is the employment of hyperbole here. Of course, these things are not possible, and that's why Auden succeeds in establishing his fact that these things are not possible. So these things will never happen, and these things will never happen, so his love will never end, because he is saying, "I will love you, dear, till China and Africa meet," till all these impossible things can happen. So these all things can't happen. So with the employment of hyperbole, how Odin has established the strength of his love. So this is how the hyperbole is used by the writers or uh, uh, artists. Next is personification. Personification is a type of figurative language in which known human things are described as having human attributes. Now, after this definition, to make you understand, if I describe a scene in this way, like if I say, sun smiles, the wind whispers to the trees, the shadows of the leaves dance in the wind. Now, although literally these all things can't happen, or these all things uh, we can't see, or it doesn't happen, like sun can't smile, the wind can't whisper as it doesn't have mouth, and leaves can't dance, they don't have legs. But with the help of or by ascribing, I have ascribed human attributes, smiling, whispering and dancing, to these known human objects or entities. And in this way, what I have done, I have personified them, I have ascribed, I have given, I have attributed human attributes to these entities, to these, as per the definition you can see, I have described them as a human entities. In this way I have personified them, and this process is called personification. So this is what personification is. And if you see this example, the tired old car coughed and wheezed and crawled down the street. Now here the speaker is describing car in a very human way, like as car is coughing, wheezing and crawling. So it is done by the speaker or writer purposely or intentionally, so that he can describe the car in more vivid manner, like to show or to highlight the dilapidated and old condition of car. The speaker has ascribed these all attributes, human attributes like coughing, whizzing and crawling, to car. So in this statement, the tired old car coughed and wheezed and crawled down the street. Here is a personification in this statement, and the car is personified. Here is an example from Shakespearean play A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a dialogue by Titania, the queen of fairies, where she is describing about the moon. And what Shakespeare has done in these 4 lines, he has given a character quality. He has given this the character to the moon. Here, as he is saying, therefore the moon, the governess of floods, means he has feminized. Shakespeare has feminized the moon by calling the moon as the governess of floods. And in the next line, he has ascribed, or he has described the moon. He is describing the moon as she is very angry, and the color pale is depicting the angry mood of moon. And due to her displeasure, she is the cause, or she becomes the cause of the spread of disease, as pale in her anger washes all the air, that rheumatic diseases too abound. That means the moon, due to her displeasure, she becomes the cause of the disease. So in this way, moon is here personified by the Shakespeare. So this is what we can see, the employment or deployment of personification in this play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. And in this slide, what I want to say is the importance of using personification, that why the reader uses this figure of speech, what role personification plays. uh, to display or to demonstrate this fact or this importance of personification, I have taken these examples. In the first statement, if you see, it is a very literal description of rising the sun. It is in a very literal or in a very simple statement. If anybody says the sun rose, it is a very simple statement. There is not much life or much creativity or emotional engagement or put in this statement. The sun rose, it is very simple. And if any artist or any writer or any poet describes the same thing in this way: the sun stretched its golden arms, climbed above the mountains, and smiled down on us. Now, in this, what the writer or the speaker does, he has personified this object sun by describing its golden rays as golden arms, which is presenting very vivid imagery in front of our eyes. And by ascribing it this quality, human quality, climbing, it is just like a human who is getting out of his bed. And the third one, smiled, it is also giving a very positive connotation of the day, that smile down on us. Now, in other way around, if the speaker wants to give a negative sense of the day, then the writer or the speaker can speak or present this rising of sun in this way. He can personify the sun in this way and can give negative connotation by saying the sun glared down at us angrily. Now, this is how personification gives us a more lively presentation. It enables us to present the things more lively with more emotional engagement. So this is what I wanted to show you, that how personification plays an important role in making the scenery more lively and more artistic. Now, before I wind up this lecture, it would be worth taking a moment in pointing out the difference between anthropomorphism and personification. Now, what is this anthropomorphism? Anthropomorphism is a kind of personification in which animals or objects are described as if they really are people with abilities like talking, walking upright, and thinking critically. Now, if you take a slight note or if you take a little more attention, or if you pay more attention, then you can differentiate between these two devices, anthropomorphism and personification. Actually, what we do in anthropomorphism, or what personification does, at first I would like to take personification. What personification does, personification gives human attributes or qualities to a known human objects or things. And what anthropomorphism does, anthropomorphism is an advanced state which turns any known human, or which can turn any known human into human. That means it creates character. In personification, we don't create character, but in anthropomorphism, we create character by creating or by designing characters. These famous fictional characters, I hope that you have heard about them: Winnie the Pooh, the little engine that could, and Simba from the Lion King. These all are the examples of anthropomorphism, because actually they are animals or objects, bear, lion, or any object like engine. But anthropomorphism, with the help of anthropomorphism, they have been given human qualities, who can think critically, who can talk, or who can just behave as human does. So this is the example of anthropomorphism. And there is one more example you can see in this context. The wind, if I say the wind played hide and go seek among the trees. Now, in this example, wind doesn't grow arms, legs and mouth and go for countdown from 20. Here in this example, this is an example of personification, and in this example wind is just being personified as wind is playing wind. So if writer or the speaker presents wind as growing or as showing as a human who has legs, mouth, and who is just behaving like human, critically thinking, etc., then we can say that here wind is anthropomorphized. But no, in this statement wind is personified, because wind here is as natural as it exists in nature. Just what personification is doing here, that it is making the readers or listeners to think or imagine the wind in a more creative way, or winds we can imagine the movement of wind in more new way, in a creative way. Just that, it's just that. Here there is no invention of a new character of wind. So this is a personification, and I hope that now you have got a proper distinction between anthropomorphism and personification. And in many cultures there are many examples of both of these devices, like Aesop's fables and fairy tales. There are many characters who are anthropomorphized and personified as well, and there are many goats in myths and legends. And there is very remarkable example, Animal Farm by George Orwell, which is a very good example of anthropomorphism and personification as well. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.